Oh my God!
This just happened.
I
struck down
knew
the tariffs.
this was going to happen.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, Tom! Did you just see that?
Yeah, it's 6-3. I haven't seen the list of judges, but 6-3
What?
has to mean that Comey and Roberts joined the three.
Like, what the
liberal
hell are
women.
they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? We're winning, and it's working, and look at what we want to talk about the deep state. That's it right there.
So major breaking: the U.S. Supreme Court has just struck down
Unbelievable.
President Trump's tariff authority 6-3.
Terrible.
Supreme Court just wrecked our country. One of the biggest economic comebacks in world history, just
What
thrown
the
into.
hell?
By the way, Neil
what a shame.
Gorsuch joined
Play the clip,
liberal
Rob? Play the clip?
majority.
Are they saying anything, or is it just an update?
I have not been able to
Oh,
check it out.
let's just see the first 10 seconds.
We do. We've got a very fractured opinion, but initially what it says, we know it's authored, the primary
I just want to
opinion
know who
by the
voted
Chief
against it. Tom,
Justice,
did you pull it up?
and says essentially that this
Has to be
IEPA,
Amy
this law that grants
Comey.
the president
said
emergency
Gorsuch.
powers did not, it looks like by this first blush reading by Justice, the Chief Justice here, does not
Roberts.
give him the
Roberts.
power to
He wrote it.
levy these tariffs that
Roberts,
he's
Coney
levied.
Barrett,
The
and
part of this
Gorsuch.
initial opinion says the words regulate
Thomas
and
Alito and
importation. The
Kavanaugh
president says
dissented.
that gives him the independent power to impose tariffs on imports from any country, any product, any rate, any time. These words, it says, cannot bear such weight.
How's the
we
market
know we
reacting
got a
to it, Rob?
dissent by Justice Kavanaugh.
Just go to the market. How's the market
I'll tell
reacting
you right
to it?
now,
Is it an
sir.
immediate uptick?
Unbelievable.
It's an immediate uptick. Interesting.
Uptick in the market.
Not
Interesting.
Not by a lot.
Not by a lot, but let's just see if it just happened in the last.
30
11
minutes.
So
30
when did
30
this
minutes.
happen, Rob?
30 minutes ago.
This happened, this update about tariffs is how long ago? Did it just happen right now, or was it 30 minutes
I saw
ago?
like 12 minutes was when it
Everything I see, the first release, Pat, was 10:02 a.m.
Half an
Eastern.
hour.
Yep,
Ha-
that's
half
about
hour
25
ago.
minutes ago.
Okay, guys, then the market's reacting to this. That's what the market's reacting to. Because the market was flat, 49,280, and then it went up 300. It went all the way up to 40. Yeah. So,
Why would the markets go up based
well,
on this
you have to
news?
realize there are some
Yeah.
people that are feeling like that pinch that they were paying the because the additional, they see it as a tax, as the way they're
Short term.
so a short-term tax that they were paying on this. This is one of those things I do not like. Listen, I was with Rand Paul, and I asked him the question, and I said, Rand, why does the president keep bringing up the fact that if the Supreme Court rules against tariffs, why does he keep saying that? He says, because it's most likely going to rule against the tariffs.
Yeah,
he said
he
this
did
3
say
weeks ago. Remember that when I came back and I shared that? Yeah, so interesting. Tom, what do you think is going to happen next?
So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, but I'll add this. CNN is reporting that Neil Gorsuch joined Roberts and Barrett in the moderate opinion, joining the liberals. So Neil Gorsuch, appointed by Trump, is one of the judges that voted, making it 6-3, not 5-4. I was expecting 5-4 because I was expecting Comey and Roberts to sit on the moderate middle where they've been. So what this means, I trust Scott Bessent. And Scott Bessent said there are other tools that they can use to negotiate. I think there's going to be a lot of celebration. Oh, we defeated Trump and stuff. But you got to go back and look. There's a lot of trade deals, several trade deals that were key that got done because the tariffs were there. And tariffs were coming back. Just yesterday, Japan said they were investing $30 or $40 billion in the U.S. in a natural gas power plant in Ohio, and that Trump was pulling back tariffs to 15% on certain things. And so I think that this is bad for Trump, and the mainstream media is going to run with it and say, he's been given a bloody nose by the Supreme Court. Oh, look, Neil Gorsuch has joined. It's one of his own judges. You're going to hear all that. But he used the tariffs as tactics, not taxes. They didn't turn out to be taxes. The CPI, the Consumer Price Index, was 0.1 less year over year, which was just released last week. So the tariffs didn't cause the great inflation. That's not a claim. That's a statistical fact from the data coming from our own government. So I think what you're going to see here is Trump has to take different tactics to negotiate internationally, but mainstream media and the Dems are going to run with this and saying, see, I told you he was a monarch. I told you he was dictator. I told you he was wielding a red pen like a king. No kings. You're going to hear all that crap. And said, but what has really happened here is he's going to have to change his tactics. And let's remember what happened in the middle. Between now and a year ago, those tariffs were used to successfully negotiate trade agreements in the benefit of America first, not America only, but America first.
I could make another argument for what I think the president should do. I'd read this quote: "When Congress grants the power to impose tariffs, it does so clearly and with careful constraints," Roberts wrote. "It did neither here." Now, while I don't agree with that, I think the president was absolutely within his rights. What I think folks in your audience who stand with Trump need to do is they need to call people like me and say, pass a bill to give him those tariffs. What the Supreme Court is saying is not that the president can't impose
Back
tariffs.
on Congress. Yeah.
Well, what they're not saying he can't impose tariffs. They're saying he didn't have the congressional authority to impose tariffs. So we have a choice. We have a choice. And look, it may make us blow up the filibuster in the Senate, but we do have a slight majority in the House.
Please do.
And we do have a slight majority in the Senate. And so we, as a Congress, can choose to give him that power, because what President Trump has done is he has brought in an extraordinary amount of money to the country in the form of these tariffs, which really are just sales taxes on foreign goods. He's reduced the trade deficit. He's making people invest in this country. He's bringing down the deficit, and he is using it as to wield other people. And what the Supreme Court's not doing is saying other countries can't tariff us.
Exactly.
And that is what is apparently everyone thinks tariffs are a great idea when China and Europe and everyone else does it to the United States, but it's the worst idea in the world when we do it back. So I think what people ought to be doing is picking up the phone, calling their congressman and say, fine, if the Supreme Court says the president doesn't have the power, then you all give it to him.
Can you imagine if you are a leader of China or Iran or Russia,
Laughing.
you know what you're saying?
Gotcha.
You know, it's kind of like, remember when Mayweather was fighting Pacquiao or whoever it was, he would say, go talk to your boss. Go talk to your boss. Go talk to Bob Arum. Go talk to Don. I don't have to talk to anybody. I'm my own boss. These places like China and Russia are going to sit there and say, you think you have power? Ha, ha, ha. We're going to put tariffs on you. No, you're not. So then the question becomes the following. Is for somebody who moves as quickly as an operator, as a capitalist that competes in free enterprise, and a founder, guess what you like? You like that you can make a decision what? Very quickly versus slowly. And I got to go through the process of all this other stuff. This is why some people prefer working for a small business ran by a founder than working for a corporation ran by committees and a bunch of different people. So, Tom, Randy, this kind of comes to you guys. Do you think he is now going to sit there and say, because you know how Trump is, he's going to be like, oh, okay, no problem. You know, it's kind of like when a father, the kid says, you can't put your hands on me. I will go tell the school. And the teacher says, oh, really? No problem. Take the TV, take the video games, take everything we have out of the house, put it in the garage. Go ahead, son. Go ahead, honey. Give me the car keys. Give me your cell phone. You're right. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to put you on because you're going to go tell school. Go tell school I took your phone, your iPad, your computer, your video games, your TV away from you. So what is that now? Because he's wired like that.
Of course.
Is it now sanctions? Is it now, hey, if anybody does business with Huawei, if anybody does business with this, is that the thing? Or is he going to need to get is he going to need to get the help from Congress to do sanctions, or can he do that himself?
I think there's two things. I think he has other tools in the tool chest.
Such as what?
He can limit who we do business with.
Does he need your approval?
No, not for certain things. There are other tools in the tool chest to manage trade, so he's got other tools. But I think it's a two-part path. I think he should use those tools, and I think he should come to us and say, "Give me the power." I would give him the power. What's extraordinary about this, and what's so disappointing, is this is working. This has been they said, oh, it'll kill economic growth. We've doubled the economic growth we got under Biden. They said it'll drive inflation. We've got half the inflation that we had under Biden. All this is something that has made trade with the United States fair. I don't even know why we call them tariffs. What they are sales taxes on foreign goods. That's what they are. We charge sales taxes on just about everything. And so I think we need to give the president the power to redo this, but I think he'll have other tools in the tool chest. It's just disappointing. It's like, why, when America's standing itself back up, do people have to slap it down?
That's my question is, Randy, why would even the Republican, why would you vote to harm us, like to subvert what he's doing? What's the ideology behind it? Because they know the numbers, they see what the hell is happening. What would make somebody like Comey Barrett and Roberts do that? I don't get it.
I have no idea. I haven't read it. We've been sitting here, but I mean, they may just have some deeply held emotional belief that the statutory authority is not there. I would point out the three others disagreed and clearly felt that it was there. What I think is it's disappointing, and I think we should give the president the power
Rob,
to
can
do
you
it.
go to Adam? I'll come to you right after this. Rob, can you go to Section 232 tariffs? Go to Section 232 tariffs. I think he's probably going to lean on this. Zoom in a little bit.
It's a Trade Expansion Act of 1962.
Exactly. Of 1962, the president can impose tariffs or restrictions on imports deemed to threaten national security based on Commerce Department investigations. So they may go to this. Can you also go to Section 301 tariffs? Section 301 tariffs.
These are the other tools.
Yeah, these are the other
Of
tools.
the Trade Act of 1974.
Yeah, so this is 1974. Are ongoing duties imposed by the USTR on Chinese imports, often 7.5% or 25% or higher, to counteract unfair trade practices like intellectual property theft as of early 2026. These tariffs remain in effect, and some rates increasing on strategy sectors such as the biggest concern with the tariffs. He said, "Well, we got all these deals that we're doing with tariffs," and it was like small countries, like everybody wants to hear the one country, and that's what China. So what things he can use against China? There is plenty of stuff to use the threat of national security against China. Adam, your thoughts?
So I'm going to give a different perspective because obviously we're not happy about this, and we were all fan of what's going on with the tariffs and what everything's going on with Lutnick. But let me try to turn that frown upside down because Trump's a brilliant marketer. So I'm thinking of ways he can turn, lemons into lemonade. So do you think that there's people on the left cheering for this right now?
Of course.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So let's think of some ways that he can combat that. You call me a fascist, you call me a dictator, you're doing no king's protest. Well, here's Exhibit A of checks and balances and the rule of law in our country. Even if you thought I was one, sorry, we have a Supreme Court that basically told me I can't do this. So your whole notion that I'm a fascist dictator, that's out the window. Congratulations, guys. So that's one thing right there. I will add this. If this were 5-4, that could get ugly. The fact that it's 6-3 and there's someone like Neil Gorsuch that's like, you know what? Maybe this does need to go through Congress. Maybe there's a rule of law. Maybe Trump did overreach here. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. This would be way uglier if this were 5-4. The fact that it's 6-3 means that Trump needs to just go back to the drawing board and say, all right, guys, what do we want to do here? I think he has a great team around him. I think America's doing great right now. How can we make America even greater? Reinventing the tariffs. That's just my quick thoughts.
You have to look at the Supreme Court very carefully. The Supreme Court rules narrowly on narrow issues. The Supreme Court is not typically about it. Now, do they debate them? Is there a Solicitor General involved and they bring these things forward and they hear arguments and they go on for a while before they reach a decision? Yes, that's the court function. But when the opinions are read out, they generally tend to be narrow. And they'll even say, but we don't see this and we don't see that. This was a narrow opinion that said, Trump did not have the authority to wield his pen for tariffs the way he did without congressional approval. It didn't say tariffs are bad. It didn't say tariffs can't be used. And Besant, as early as November of last year, I looked this up last night, November of 2025, Besant was quoting the two points that Pat just brought up, the other ways to do it. And he said, those are more cumbersome, but they get the same effect when you're dealing with international trade. And guess what? International trade, we want a president with a fast pen. But this does not mean that he is castrated on negotiating internationally. He's not. And it merely says that there's other tools that have to be swung here. And to everyone that is criticizing and saying, oh, no kings and all this crap, shut up.
Yeah.
You're not looking at the data that what has happened over the course of the last year, and as recently as yesterday with Japan putting a natural gas power plant to reduce the price of electricity in Ohio. And electricity seems to be a hot topic going into the elections because of data centers creating excess demand and then providers of electricity raising prices in response to demand. So here's a president touching on the affordability crisis with a deal with Japan, and then today you're going to see the liberals and the mainstream media cheering appearing as if they've taken the crown off the king. It really is disappointing. I understand the Supreme Court's decision. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not on the court. And their narrow interpretation was he did not have the authority to put the tariffs in place the way he did without congressional approval. That's all they're saying.
Well said.
Well, who brings that? Well, first of all, who's sitting there going, okay, we're winning. Let's bring this to freaking the Supreme Court. Now, you don't know what I was talking about? The $150 billion tariff refund that we might have to pay back to all these people. And then they're going to go after him because now we're going to go back even worse debt and worse thing and worse problems.
How did this get done? Read that headline, Vinny. Tell
Trump
me how
says
that got done.
Japan to invest in energy, industrial projects in Ohio, Texas, and Georgia. How much is this worth, Rob? What's the potential?
36
36 billion. It's like, bro, this guy's been in since the day he came in, it's just been a fight.
This
It's
is
been a
36 of the 550. They still have another 520 to
Pat,
go.
let me add one thing.
And 90% of this, Pat, is power, electricity.
Let me bring up the China thing, if you may. Look, democracy's ugly, and we're seeing things played out. We're seeing how the sausage is made. Let me flip it on you. You're either going to have a U.S.-led world or a China-led world. So here in America, we're fighting over the fact that Supreme Court, they're ruling down Trump. Oh, my God, what's going to happen? Meanwhile, in China, breaking news, how Xi basically purged his big brother to achieve absolute power, and he's basically going and purging people that even look at him the wrong way. So, yes, this is ugly in America, Supreme Court. We have checks and balances and rules and justice in our country. Flip it on China.
And
She will just murder you or kill you. God forbid what you're going to do in Iran. So pick your poison. I'm going to pick the American
Can I ask you a
poison all
question?
day.
Can I ask
They
you
don't
a
have a
question?
Supreme Court to tell him he can't do it.
So by the way, so the Supreme Court 6-3, not 5-4. Okay. I heard what Tom said. I heard what Adam, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I got a question. Let's say Supreme Court was, is it 6-3 right now, conservatives? Is that what the structure
Pretty
is right
much.
now? Okay.
On paper.
On paper. Fine.
Comey and Roberts have been moderate
six
for a year and a half.
Fair. But let's just say go to 2024 when they try to get him off the ballot in Colorado. 2023 when they try to get him off the ballot in Colorado.
And Maine.
This is the question I want to ask. If the Supreme Court was 6-3, do you think they would have voted liberal, 6 liberal, 3 conservatives? Do you think they would have voted to remove Trump from the ballot in Colorado? Be very
Good question.
unemotional. Do you think they would have voted for him to be removed, or they would have said, no, this is not constitutional?
we can look up how most of these people were on the court then. We can see how they voted. And that might give you some of the
they
answers.
didn't vote for it. But remember, it's 6-3, so they voted it out.
You're
and
saying
it was gone.
hypothetical if they
I'm
were-
saying pick 6 liberal Supreme Court justices, 3 conservatives. How do you think, Tom, that would have gone? Okay, 6 liberal, 3 conservatives. Do you think they would have removed them off the ballot?
I think that there's a danger in a liberal court because I'll answer it. Yes, I think that's a very real possibility because liberal justices have shown themselves to legislate from the bench, and the conservative constitutional judges have shown themselves to focus on interpreting the Constitution and getting down to yes/no answers on a narrow issue. I think if it was liberal court,
do you
Pat,
think,
there's a danger that could have happened.
Here's the risk. Look at some of these judges like Bosberg and some of the insane rulings that some of these leftist judges have made since Trump has gotten in. I think if those people ended up on the Supreme Court, it's a real risk. This is not a good thing, but I also don't think we should lose our minds about it because Trump does have other options, and I think people need to get mad and they need to call their congressman and say, give him whatever authority he needs. These are good. These were working. But it is disappointing. I want to believe that the Republican justices did what they thought was right in their hearts under the law, and they just simply think the president didn't have that power. I don't agree, and I will give him the power if it's up to me.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer your question. I think if I'm going to be an ideologue, I would say, no way would they do something like that. You know, the laws of our country, no way would that. We're supposed to be nonpartisan. But if I'm going to give a realistic answer, I would say, yeah, they would probably do that
So
because
think about that.
TDS does not stop at just the common person. It bleeds into Congress and business leaders and even judges and even Supreme Court judges.
You know, you made an interesting point about China, though, and I meant to build on it. So much of the division that not only they have no division, so much of the division we have in our country right now is paid for by them?
Yeah.
Who do you think funds the No Kings
Exactly.
protests? Who do you think
Neville
funds?
Singham in
who
Hong
do you think
Kong.
funds the people who harass me when I'm walking through the
Qatar.
Capitol? I mean, a lot of it is Chinese money, and so they not only allow no discussion, they are fomenting discord in the country. Remember when we had all those encampments on college campuses and everyone had the same tent?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, who do you think's paying for all of that? They are
Well,
doing
George
it to
Soros,
divide us.
Qatar,
There's
Soros and China.
there's a
Our
few
enemies.
suspects, but China's one of them.
Yeah, of
and
course.
so
Well, if you think about it, the last time Trump was in and Trump was going hard with China with trade, what happened? What happened? A freaking virus came out of a lab from China and destroyed everybody.
Vinny, it was a wet market.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all know that
And-
it came
and-
from a pangolin that mixed with a monkey that made out.
I believe
it had
in my
intercourse.
this is my opinion.
Sweet and sour
that was
bat was dangerous.
all set up to get the president out, and the deep state was with him. And these are the same type of people. Adam, you talked about China and him looking.
And he
at
would've
people.
won. He would've won.
100% he would
He
have won. They
absolutely-
needed. They needed
think
that.
look at how close, even with all the cheating, it was.
Of course.
Imagine if there hadn't been COVID.
Of course,
There's
and,
no
and,
question.
And then Adam, you're talking about with China, and if they look at him wrong, and they, by the way, the courts here, they use him. They tried to kill the president. You talking about purging and looking? They tried to shoot him in the head, which they got him in the ear. They tried to have that psycho Ryan Ralph go after him, who's doing life now for going after. There's other tactics, and this, and you're right. This isn't like, oh my God, huge, but we're winning. And since 2016, if it's not the left, it's even the Republicans that are in there in the deep state are just trying to subvert the will of what this is what we voted for. I voted for him to be that guy. He's a boss. Go do your job. Deport more people. Deport the illegals. I'm mad that they're slowing down in Minnesota and withdrawing down. I'm mad. Like, what the hell are we talking about right now? We're trying to win. We're trying to get level back to even from what this past 4 years of, I don't even want to call it Biden, right? It wasn't Biden. It's all the people that were around him. Okay, to me, it was the Obama in the basement with the earpiece.
Yeah.
It's like every time we
And
take
Blinken.
3 steps forward, we're taking 2 steps back.
All right. So
Pisses me off, bro.
Listen.
Guys, we're pissing Vinny off
I'm
today.
sorry, I'm sorry.
We don't need
you
an
have,
angry
you have the
patriot
right
today.
to be angry.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So,
I appreciate it.
by the way, listen, Randy. Go contact your congressman. Say, hey, let's bring a vote. But at the same time, I know the mindset of a driver. Driver doesn't like slow speed, and all this does is delay speed. And China is sitting there saying yes, yes. He doesn't have as much authority and power. Matter of fact, if you were a rage baiting guy, okay, and you really wanted to get under their skin, you know what you could whisper? There's so many things you can whisper at the next event when you see them. Oh, there's so many things you can whisper to the president. But the president's creative, with a very good memory and a strong team. I have a feeling we're about to hear some very creative angles.
Let me give you a
he's
shout
gonna
out,
take with
Pat.
this.
So you
What are the chances, literally or figuratively, that they had their next 5 moves planned?
They do.
Right? They're not like, what? Where'd this come from?
Besson,
They've been
Besson.
planning
Yeah,
for this.
yeah.
Besson worked with Soros for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
Soros is one of the most deceptive, creative
course.
minds in the economy. This guy would destroy the currency of countries is what he would do.
Brought down the Bank of
You don't
England.
think he knows? So they have the right brains is what I'm
They
saying.
didn't
but-
get caught on their off
just to
guard here.
piggyback,
They're ready for
When's
this.
the next time Trump is going to be in a room with all these justices?
Next
When?
week.
Next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Think about that. State of the Union is coming
Yeah.
up. He's going to walk in. What is he going to say to them? Oh my
What a
God.
room to be in the press
Some
with
of them,
and ask
some of them,
questions
some
with.
of them
and-
don't come. Some of them actually don't come. They're not obligated to be there.
But
Some
was
of
it, were
them.
they at the I think they were for the Biden. Were they there for
Remember
the
Well,
when
the
Biden
rules are
kinda
always
undressed
different when
them and
Democrats are in
they
charge.
sat
but,
there?
but they don't actually have to
They don't
come.
have to come.
One thing about Vinny that I love, he's becoming a great example to everybody around here, and that includes myself. I'm so proud of Vinny. Yesterday, we're having dinner with 2 of our friends, Brian and Tom, who were there with us, and we had dinner. You saw them earlier. You were speaking to them. And he says, how'd you guys meet Vinny? And I started telling the story about Vinny, where he went to, where he's at right now. Life-changing what this man has turned into. Vinny, share with us what you got going on.
Pat, I love you and thank you. God literally saved me, and I'm here now because God. The story was saw Pat on Instagram, clicked on it, saw that he was a Syrian. I just lost 2 friends to fentanyl poisoning, not overdose because they didn't, and God got me to where I am right now. And for you guys that know, my biggest thing is faith over fear and having faith in Jesus Christ. Last week, James Vanderbeek had that message where he said, I was facing death nose to nose, and he looked so comfortable and so happy. We forgot that I don't know if you guys remember, on February 15th was the anniversary of 2015 when the ISIS soldiers, whatever, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, were in Libya, and they captured 20 Christian construction workers, put them down. Rob has a photo in orange jumpsuits, put knives to their heads, and they said, if you guys right now convert to Islam, we won't behead you. And these 20, I knew this was going to happen, 20 construction workers said, this is what they said. They said, no, I love you, Jesus Christ. And they cut all their heads off. I know I talk about faith over fear. That right there is, these are construction workers, Pat. They're not priests. They're not the Pope. These are just regular guys that all sat there, hands tied behind their back, and they said, nope, we believe in Jesus Christ. That is the epitome of faith over fear. God bless them. God rest their souls. And that is it. Because Jesus said, by the way, John chapter 14:6 said what, Tom? I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. Nobody gets to me except through the Father, except through me, through Jesus Christ. Period.
Absolutely. They were in fear at that time. There was early persecution going on. If you were a Jewish person at that time and you were now listening to Jesus, the Jewish leaders of the time were like, this rabbi here is a heretic. He's saying things that are way out of bounds, and persecution started, and they were scared. They were scared. And that same passage where he says, I am the way, right before that, he says to Thomas, he said, do not let your hearts be troubled. I am with you. And it takes strength. It takes strength in knowing where eternity is, to sit there and to as Christ did on the cross, just to give it up and saying, look, I am not going to betray my Savior. I am not going to be the heretic on this side. And it says, take my life if God allows you to take it. Because if you do it, God is only permitting it, not causing it.
I love it, Tom.
Yeah.
I love it, Vinny.
So yeah, and that was it. And I just want to make sure I'm the way and the truth, the life. No one gets to the Father through me. And it's just that right there is the epitome of faith over fear. And I just can't. It's almost as if every week something else is happening that's proving it and showing it. And I pray that I have that much faith if it ever comes down to it. And I pray that I get it.
Got it. Awesome. And by the way, I love seeing the faith over fear hats, shirts, everything that you got. If you feel the same way, go to vtmerch.com. Place an order for yourself, your family, and your friends. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.